In this lesson, we are going to learn how to use Flask-Bootstrap. There's not going to be much that's done in Flask-App.py, but we are going to use some macros that are provided by Flask-Bootstrap and also extend the base template of Flask-Bootstrap. First, log into the Python Anywhere. And then just take a look real quickly at the web console, show you the current state of the website. We have the home page that just says this is going to be an amazing microblog soon. An About Me page, class schedule. There's an error there. Let's take a look and see why there's an error. So I'll go to the web console, go down to the errors. Down at the bottom, my SQL server has gone away. Okay. So just an error that happened probably when everything was starting up. Click on the register and top 10 songs. So it looks like everything was fine and there was just a database error that prevented this page originally from working. All right, just going to make everything a little bit smaller. Okay, now what we're going to do is start using Flask-Bootstrap. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the Flask app. So I'll open up a Files tab and go into the My Site directory. I'm going to open up Flask app. In Flask app, I'm going to import Bootstrap. Put it right above here. So from Flask Bootstrap, import Bootstrap, the capital B. Under here, I'm going to use that Bootstrap that I just imported, and I'm going to pass my app object into Bootstrap. This is going to initialize some directories that will be available to me whenever I use templates. I'm not going to do the same thing that I did with SQL Alchemy, so I'm not going to save the object into a variable. This is all I have to do in this file. Now I'm going to go to base.html and I'm going to modify it. So I'll click here and save. I'm going to open up my templates directory. So let's go into the templates. And you'll look at base.html and it's doing a lot of stuff in here. So most of it is this navigation bar, but it's also doing things like deciding where the style sheets are. And you can see that we're using Bootstrap, and we're using Bootstrap 4.1.0. The Flask Bootstrap is actually Bootstrap 3, so as soon as we start using this, all of these styles that we've created with the navigation bar and with the forms, they're not going to look the same. So that's one drawback about migrating to use this, and the whole reason that we're doing it is because it's going to be very useful when we start creating a lot of forms in the future. So instead of doing all of this stuff like the HTML and the style sheet, I'm just going to extend the Bootstrap, the basic Bootstrap class. And so all I have to do is create, so extend bootstrap / base.html. So this folder right here, the Bootstrap folder, that's the folder that's available because of the step that we just did in Flask app, this step where we initialized Bootstrap. So now this folder is going to be available, and so I am now, with my base, is extending another base. So it's extending Flask. So it's extending Flask Bootstrap's base.html file. And Flask Bootstrap's base.html file already takes care of the HTML tag. It already does everything up here. It already creates a block for the title. It already creates this. It has space for a navigation bar. So I am going to I'm going to say that this is going to be my navigation bar. So I'm going to specify. So if you go look inside of base.html, which I don't exactly know how to find on pythonanywhere.com, but you can find on the internet if you're interested what are the contents of this file. Just search for bootstrap / base.html. And they've created a navbar block, and I'm going to fill it now. So everything that's right here, this is the navbar from the beginning nav tab to the end nav tab, and that's going to go in my navbar block. So I'll finish that up with an end block. Now, base.html from Bootstrap also contains the content block, so I don't have to do a separate one. And the only difference is that we are going to now need to put this container div into all of the templates that we've already created. This is the div that makes sure everything is centered on the page. So that's going to be a little bit of work. I'll delete that right now. Remember, the body tag and the HTML tag are already taken care of. So basically, we just extended the base.html and provided the navbar. And this is so we don't have to type the navbar out on every single page. So that's all we need to do right here. So I'm going to save this. And if I want, I can take a look at what this looks like so far. So I can go over to here, and I might have to restart the app, just do it in case. And I will take a look at this website, and I can see that the style has already changed. It's using Bootstrap 3 styles already, and notice how this content is no longer centered on the page. It comes all the way over here to the left margin, and that's because there's no longer a container class, a div with a container class, so we're going to add that back in. So I'm going to go back to my templates, and one by one I'm going to go into the About Me, and this block right here, I'm going to add a div with a class equals container. And then this final one's going to go right before the end of the block. So that's the end of my div. And all that does is just make sure that everything in here is wrapped inside of a div that has a class of container, and that means Bootstrap will apply styles so that it stays in the middle of the page and it doesn't go all the way over to the left. I'm going to save, and I'll move on to the next file. So next one, class schedule.html. Add the div in, class equals container. Then right before the end block for this, add in the div, save that. Next one, index.html, div class equals container. So since we don't have very many template files, this isn't going to take too long. If we had a ton of template files, then we'd probably try and figure out a smarter way to do this. On to register.html. So class equals container. Save that. Just one more template. Top 10 songs. And just so you know, another option for doing this would to still put this inside of the content block of the base.html file and just use the super function to be able to get some of this information. But there's just one small line, a little bit easier to do this, so this is what I did. If you're interested, just do an internet search for Jinja, which is the name of the templating system, and super, and then it can explain to you how it can be used. All right, so everything's saved. I'll restart the app. Let's just make sure that all of the pages are still working and that the stuff looks centered. So refresh this. Yeah, so now it looks like it's not going all the way over to the left margin. It's leaving a little bit of space here. Let's check the other pages. Same with that one. It's looking good. Register, class schedule, About Me. All right, so everything looks good, and that is the end of the changes. I'm just going to commit them. So I'll go into my dashboard, open up the consoles, open up a new Bash console. I'm going to wait for just a moment, start out, change to the My Site directory. You'll be in the master branch. I'm in a branch called Teaching. I'm going to do git status to start out. These are all the files that I've changed. That looks good. To get a little bit more information, I'm going to say git diff, and I'm going to see it's going to be highlighted in green all the lines that I'm adding, and highlighted in red all the lines that I'm removing. So I'll just press space. All right, so everything's looking good. I remember adding these lines, and then here in base.html, I deleted some of these things. So there's a little bit more deleted. I kept all the stuff with the nav bar, and then added this navbar block. Everything's looking good. So I'll just keep hitting space, going through and making sure all the changes look like what I remember them looking like. And when you hit the end, you can just press Q to quit. All right, so I'm going to add all of those changes right here. And then I'm going to commit the changes and just say that I switched to using Flask-Bootstrap. All right, now I could do a git push right now if I want to push these changes to GitHub. And that's the end of this lab.